Welcome. Today I'm talking to Mark Sutherland, Chief Marketing Officer of Missouri Partnership. Missouri Partnership is a public-private economic development organisation focused on attracting new jobs and investment to the state of Missouri in the United States and promoting Missouri's business strengths. Their expert team provides free, direct support to companies interested in investing in Missouri and works statewide to connect businesses with the best locations and solutions to achieve their goals. If you're ready to look at the US market, Missouri Partnership could help ensure that your US entry is competitive and successful. Mark, welcome.
Well, thanks
First,
for having
before
me.
we get into it, what's so great about Missouri?
Well, I love it. I mean, it's my home. I've been there for 33 years. Phenomenal quality of life. We were talking earlier before we started the interview about all the lakes, the outdoor economy. It's in the north of Missouri. It's flatter, so you get some very strong agricultural strengths up there. But when you get further south, you're into the Ozark Highland Mountains with the lakes and the rivers and everything you can enjoy. We've got professional sports teams, Kansas City Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. We've got two Major League baseball teams that you can enjoy, one in St. Louis, one in Kansas City. Professional ice hockey, St. Louis Blues. And we already have one MLS team in the Kansas City region, and we're getting another Major League Soccer team next year in the St. Louis region. So, and even if you're theater and culture, there's every aspect of it, from things like Branson, which is the live music capital of at least the U.S. They claim the world, but they do some phenomenal shows down there, and Hannibal, and the history of Tom Sawyer, and everything in between. So it's a phenomenal state to be in. The challenge is always most people outside of America are not familiar with Missouri. And I have the privilege of introducing the world to Missouri, especially from a business investment sense.
I was going to say, it sounds a great place to visit on holiday. What about business? Let's get more into that, shall we? So, Missouri Partnership, just tell me, if you would, more about the partnership aspect of that and how you support businesses who are interested in investing in your state.
Yeah, so think of us as a concierge service. So a company's looking at the U.S., looking for their either their first entry into the market or looking for an expansion somewhere else in the United States. Our job is to provide solutions. We dig into their business, figure out what exactly their needs are, what their unique goals are, what the supply chain needs to be, what kind of raw materials, what kind of land or site they would need. We discover, do we have that in Missouri? Is Missouri a good location for that expansion? And then we introduce them to everybody they need to know. Real estate professionals, local leadership, state leadership. We work on incentives, just everything that happens when it comes to a company expansion. We're designed to provide those solutions to make it incredibly difficult to select anywhere but Missouri.
Is that process relatively straightforward? Are there a lot of hoops to jump through?
It's straightforward, but it's unique to the company. And that's where services like what we provide add significant value. We really get to understand the company and what their goals are, and then ensure that everything works seamlessly. But Missouri, and we get this a lot, feedback from companies, is they are amazed at how well all the individual aspects within the state work together. It's very much a team effort. We have some phenomenal people at the local and the state level, and other organizations that support economic development, economic growth in the state. And we work well as a team, because we want to make sure that any company that comes to invest in Missouri is successful. They have the connections they need, and they have the support they need, and it's quite a phenomenal process that we walk companies through.
Fantastic. Now, there are a lot of major industries in Missouri. Let's talk perhaps about the most famous, and that's agriculture. What makes Missouri so uniquely suited to that industry?
Well, it's a very small industry. It's only $94 billion each year. So we've got everything from traditional agriculture. Every row crop is grown in Missouri, including rice. Peanuts is growing. George Washington Carver actually was from Missouri originally. He was the great peanut entrepreneur. So peanuts, I think we'll be in the 10th, in the top 10 for peanuts. We're in the top 5 for a lot of farm animals. We're the second largest amount of farms of any U.S. state. And then we get into the ag tech side. And we've got the largest concentration of plant science PhDs. We're the home of the animal health corridor, which represents 55% of the global animal health industry. So this huge agricultural industry. And then if you add in wood, barrels, so most whiskey or wine barrels in the world are from one of two places, either France or Missouri. And so we have this huge the foundation of agriculture that is statewide. And depending on what a company is looking for, what part of the industry they want to get involved in, then we can find the right location in Missouri for them.
How much more room is there to grow that industry?
Oh, huge potential for growth. So the geographic landscape of Missouri is about 3 times the size of Ireland. The population is about 5 million. So we've got a lot of space. We have 3 urban centers, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Springfield. But then the rest of it is more spread out. And you've got a lot of farms in the north. You've got the Ozark Highlands in the south. So different types of agriculture work. In the very southeast of Missouri is some of the best agricultural land in the United States. We have the Mississippi and the Missouri rivers that flow through, so lots of water for agriculture or any other industry that is a heavy water user. So yes, lots of growth. We're very active in making sure that growth continues, and we're seeing a lot of investment from around the world.
How did Missouri become a global leader in remanufacturing?
Well, it always starts with the vision of one man. Same with AgTech. That was the vision of John Danforth. But there was a gentleman in Springfield, Missouri, who created the industry basically. And remanufacturing it's different than recycling or refurbishment. So what they do with remanufacturing is they take engines and the parts of engines and they engineer them back to the original specs. So it's about it costs about 50 to 75% of what something new would cost, but they are taking those original parts and bringing them back up to spec, if not even better than what it was originally, and then putting those engines and those manufactured goods back out into the market. So you reduce waste, it's very sustainable, it lowers costs for companies, and we've seen a whole industry grow up around what the original was SRC in Springfield, so the whole industry growing up around that particular original vision.
Yeah, incredible. I've mentioned now 2 industries that are thriving in Missouri. Tell me some more.
Yeah, so manufacturing, big manufacturing industry. I think we were ranked 10th best for new businesses by Tax Foundation, but 4th best state in the U.S. for the labor-intensive manufacturing. So we have, I think last year we made 475,000 trucks and vans. So Ford and GM have big OEMs in the state. And that was in the middle of a pandemic. So we're still making 500,000 vehicles each year. Boeing has a huge facility in Missouri. They make all the F-15s, all the F-18s, the brand new T-7 trainer, the MQ-25, the new unmanned refueler Boeing is rolling out. So they have about 16,000 employees in the region that produce those, and then everything else that goes around manufacturing. We have significant strengths. We have about 250,000 people that work in manufacturing at this particular time.
Are there particular up-and-coming areas or areas that you are seeing a lot of interest from outside Missouri, outside the United States, where people want or businesses want your help and you're helping them?
Yeah, I mean, everything kind of transitioned during the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we saw specific industry strengths. We have seen over the last couple of years huge growth in logistics, huge growth in food manufacturing as supply chains were diversified rather than having one large facility. Companies are setting up multiple facilities so they can manage around having to shut down various aspects if there is a resurgence or other issues within the facility. But we're seeing a lot of rural investment around the state. Missouri is also investing a lot in rural broadband to ensure that a lot of the state that has not been historically connected to high-speed internet is connected and effective. But it's statewide. We're seeing investment in Kansas City, in St. Louis, in Columbia, in Springfield, and other smaller communities around the state, which is phenomenal. Because every time a company invests in the state, it's not just great It's not just a great headline. These are life-changing jobs for Missouri families, and we are thrilled to be able to support those companies that are coming in and doing that.
I want to drill down. Missouri sounds incredible, both from
I
a
think
tourism industry,
Yep,
from to
absolutely.
live there and to work there, etc., to bring business. But why, as a global business, of all the options that you have available, including in your own country, why would you pick Missouri?
So
what benefits can you bring a global company?
We see a lot of companies choosing Missouri, especially as a first location in the U.S., because it is right in the center. We strategically placed Missouri in the middle of America.
And there.
Yes, exactly. So north, south, east, west, we are pretty much right in the middle. Along with our logistics infrastructure, we have the two major river systems. We're the northernmost ice-free port on the Mississippi. Every Class 1 railroad in the United States comes to Missouri. We were the birthplace of the interstate system. The first interstate in America was built in Missouri, and it spread out from there. So logistically, there's huge reasons to be located in the center. It's very easy to fly to either coast and be connected to the entire country. So from that sense, it makes perfect sense. And then if you look just at the fiscal areas, the cost of doing business, the regulatory environment's incredibly business friendly, and the ability to be able to really, if you're a small startup or a large company, your costs allow you to be a lot more successful than if you're going to be on the more expensive coasts or maybe just slightly north of us in Chicago.
Tell me more about carbon neutrality.
Yes, so there's a large focus, especially among utilities, to reduce their carbon imprint over the next few years. So the utilities are all focused. Some of the key dates are 2025, 2026, 2030. There's a lot of renewables that are already in place, and those are increasing. And then we've seen companies that have just implemented those, very similar to what you see in Europe and the United Kingdom, just general company policies that are embracing solar and wind energy and other uses to ensure that we head towards carbon neutrality. And then being a huge agriculture state, farmers have historically been focused on ensuring that sustainability is a core element. They look generationally. They're not looking. They're not looking at a quick profit. They're looking at how can I make sure that our land, that our crops, that our water, that everything about the environment of our farm is there for the next 4 or 5 generations. So they've always been focused on that, and because we have 100,000 farms across the state, you've got a lot of people who are committed to ensuring that the environment is good for a long time.
Keeping almost the benefits of decarbonisation, they're obvious. That's a different discussion, but in terms of the economic benefits, there are many opportunities, but also challenges. Just explain what those are and how you help businesses overcome those. Yeah,
so I mean, it's always, a company has to be profitable, and we're very focused on ensuring those low costs. We're very focused on finding those unique solutions for that company's goals, and it really comes down to the partnership model. It's introducing you to the right people, the right experts, the people who can look at the company and say, all right, here's an opportunity in this, on whether it's on power generation, how can we make sure it's clean, how can we make sure it's responsible, whether it's waste management, whether it's all the different aspects of a particular company. I think the ability for us to know who they need to be working with on the local basis in order to meet those challenges is an important aspect of what we can deliver.
Finally, what's your vision for Missouri going forward?
Well, growth, more opportunity. People like me I'm a transplant to Missouri, didn't know much about Missouri when I first came, found out it's an absolutely fantastic place. It's progressive, it's international, it's a surprise to many, many people. And so my vision is for more people to be aware of that, especially on the business side, because that comes and that creates jobs, creates partnerships. We have great partnerships with companies all around the world, and even on the academic and the research R&D side of things. Companies like Agritech-E in Cambridge, where we're partnering on plant science and other aspects of agritech. So I guess my vision is that people see the Missouri that I know, realize there's phenomenal opportunity, especially on the business side, and then come visit. Come visit if it's tourism, we're going to show you a good time. But if it's business, we're going to work with you to make sure you are successful in the U.S. market, and we will proudly brag about that success going forward.
So Missouri is open for business.
It's definitely open for business.
Mark, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.